We're going to talk about transfers today, including this player about to take the set piece, Huth, on our team. But I want to show you this to you first because it is Chef's Kiss. Lovely stuff there. She's put in a couple more bangers in the save. However, if you see an amazing goal in one of your saves, and you go, "Oh, I've got to share that to my friends on social media, or I want to go back and look at it." You cannot currently just look at the one goal. If I click this, which I have, it says the teams are warming up, and then it takes you to the end of the match. The only reason I know that is because I tried to do it and I recorded it. I might put that as a blooper at the end because, yeah. Today we're going to explore transfers in FM26 with my Wolfsburg Women save, but I want to show this to you because I think it's important. In FM24 we had one button, you click to go to transfers, and it was really the transfer center, and then the transfer history was stuff that had happened in the past. Now in FM26, you don't just have the one page for transfers, and that's probably just a getting used to the UI thing, but I find it confusing. Here's why. You could just click recruitment, which loads this, and I'm now on February 3rd. Our transfer window closed the day before on February 2nd. And what I find odd is it appears they have designed the game now as we are now in the next window. Any transfers done starting the day after the February 2nd date is now considered kind of the summer window because the transfer activity shows as closed and we have no activity. But that's not true because in the January window, I sold 2 players, which we'll get to. Whereas on the FM24 screen I showed you prior, you had your active transfers where we have the ones that are already accepted with the date they're joining, the ones that are negotiating, the ones that are considering your contract were all on that first screen. And then transfer history was things that had only happened in the past. So in FM26, the things that have happened in the past now count as transfer history because they're no longer part of the current window that you find yourself in right this very second. So I sold 2 players in the January window, which my brain says is this season, but again, FM26 is counting it as the last window. We sold Caitlin Dijkstra to Utah Royals for 155 grand, which it did report incorrectly in a piece of news that it sent me, which you can see here. It says Utah Royals signed 2, but it has Caitlin listed twice with 2 different prices. This is the price I sold her at. This is the price I originally asked for. That's weird. And then we sold Camilla Cuver, you can see here, to Union Berlin. They were going to sign her on an end of contract free, which I have more information on that to share with you in just a moment. And we took the sell now option and eventually worked our way down from 250 grand to a whopping 20 grand. It saves us $1 a week, so good business. And I think the focus on it being just a window at a time is best highlighted maybe on this screen. So this is a piece of news I got about the transfer deadline passing and all the deals that were done. And you can see Wolfsburg, I think my club should always be at the top. We didn't spend any in this window, and that's what threw me off because we did spend 400 grand, but it was on September 1st on the center back, Catley, that we signed, and that counts as last window. So whereas in FM24, you were seeing your transfer history for the entire year, like all the ins and outs and the stuff that happened in the past, expenditure on the left side of the screen and the revenue from selling were on a season-long 12-month basis. This is presented to you as we're going to tell you about what happened just in this January window, where we didn't spend any money on transfers. We received 175 grand in transfers. And I think the net, we had a conversation about this in my Discord, this should say net spend, not, because my brain, when I first looked at this, said, oh, that's net cash. We didn't spend 175 grand, we net spent minus 175 grand. We received more than we spent. So let's talk about end of contract signings. I have signed 2 players to join our team at the end of June when their existing contracts expire with their existing clubs. That doesn't count as an active transfer, which I think is a bit of an odd decision. Because again, taking us back to that FM24 window, they would still be listed there with the date they were joining. It would be green, so you're like, that's taken care of, no problem. And I think what we're seeing here in FM26 is they're trying to give us the ability to only see the things that are actively being negotiated on. But I just ask, how often do you have an entire screen worth of offers that you're juggling? I don't think it happens all that often. So instead, you click to make all offers, and now you can see we have signed Bunny Shaw, who is elite, and I can't wait to show her off to you, and Caroline Veer, who's also pretty good. We've also rejected a loan offer for Luca Pap on our team. So I don't mind that these are on transfer activity because these dates are in the future. It's 5 months into the future from the time of the date in the game. But I do think it's odd that it looks like you've done nothing. I just don't find this button intuitive or really necessary because I keep going, wait, what happened to I had a short list where I was keeping these players because I didn't realize I could click all offers. Again, you might argue if you're SI that, hey, that's just you getting used to the UI, but I just don't think it's necessary to protect the length of this window. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are people that just really break transfers and they've always got 25 negotiations going on. I don't. But if that's you and you're wondering where your signed players are that haven't shown up yet, they are under all offers. This doesn't count for trialists. They don't show anywhere I've looked. But I think I mentioned that in a previous episode. But enough about that. Let's look at Bunny Shaw, who we're signing away from Manchester City on a free. She's making currently 4 to 5.25K. We've given her a raise. I am finding that, at least in the women's game with the really good players, the amount of money they're wanting is dramatically higher than what they're earning. That includes Alexandra Pop, who Bunny Shaw is essentially going to replace. And Pop has been amazing. We literally cannot afford in our wage structure to employ her next year. But that's how it goes in football. And again, I'm learning women's football is different. So I'm thinking if you're interested in playing a women's football save, you're going to see more of this. You need to be on top of your contracts and make sure you're extending your players before they get anywhere close to where they could leave on a free. Otherwise, they're going to ask for an insane amount of money. Because as you can see here, Pop's currently making 3.9K per week, and her agent now says she wants 13.75 to 16.5 grand. So yeah, we'll see you later. Popping in here, Pop, see what I did there? That's a joke. But if you're new around here, and there's pretty good odds that you are, I've gained like almost 500 subscribers from my video that for me went kind of viral about Beautiful But Broken in FM26. I just want to say thanks. There were several hundred comments on that video. I can hardly keep up with them. I do try to respond to everyone. There was tons of likes, but I had one comment. There's always one. That said, you lost me with the pre-roll ad with a follow-up ad after 1 minute and 5 seconds. And as you can kind of see here, I responded, you may be seeing ads on my channel, but I'm currently not monetized with YouTube. And here's the proof of that. I'm recording this on October 29th. You're gonna see it starting on October 30th. What YouTube does is it wants to make sure you're not gaming the system or illegally getting watch hours. So I do have enough hours based off the success of that video to now have this bar chart well into like the 5,000 range. So again, thank you for watching and subscribing, but YouTube won't recognize that I've achieved those hours because it waits 4 or 5 days to validate the watch hours that you have. That enables YouTube to make money for hosting all of my videos and sending them out. I don't really blame them for that, but I don't like that they can just stuff in ads whenever they want and I have zero control. So that's where Shaw comes in. She is going to be our Alexandra Pop next season. She's 29, so she's 5 years younger than Pop. She plays more of a deep lying forward, but she's got 19 finishing. She can play all of the roles, really, that you'd ask her to play in any formation. She's absolutely fantastic. I'm a bit surprised she's only been played 9 starts and 3 subs with 6 goals on a 708 in the Women's Super League, but their loss is our gain. And if you're wondering, maybe she had some injuries, it's impossible to tell because there are no dates on the injury history. I'm trying to be fair and balanced. I do think it's a bit silly that she's now got a transfer, but it's still showing that she's listed. Oh, I hovered over it here a second ago and it was showing me, and now it's not. Let's try going back and then reloading the screen. Now I can hover over it and she was listed for 375. You're not going to get 375 for her. She's leaving. I think that's a bug. So next up, we have Caroline Veer, I believe is how you say that. She currently plays for Real Madrid as a star player. She is 30 years old, going on 31 by the time that she shows up in our locker room, but she's quite good. Veer, unfortunately, is probably going to be a Huth replacement because, again, Huth wants to essentially double or 2.5x her wages from 3.6K to 9.25 to 11K, and we can't afford that. At one point, I even dumped all of the transfer budget into the wage budget just because that can mean you can offer a little bit more. That's how we signed Bunny Shaw. But also, Huth is 35, but she has 7 goals and 6 assists. She has been mega from set pieces, I've been sitting here for 2 minutes waiting on this to load the goals of a recent game so I could show you, and I'm gonna have to use Task Manager to kill the game. Okay, I've gotten back in. I really just want to show you some good goals of this player who we're going to lose because she's 35 and wants to 2.5x her wages. Let's see if we can get there. Okay, this is their first goal, right on the turn of the 3rd minute. Fantastic volley. This is enjoyable to look at. Down to the other side, Huth again. Pings it. Maybe she didn't ping it, but almost pings it off the inner side of the bar. I do think the transition, it just like boop, is a bit strange. Huth from distance, upper 90. Fantastic. That's the last one that you need to see. Although she did put in that set piece that I just prevented you from seeing. So that's going to be Caroline's job to hold down that number 10 spot because we have transitioned this to a 4-2-3-1. The supporters want us to play more direct, which I think that 4-3-3 wing play is better for. But we're pinging in tons of shots and not getting many on target. We've had more control. We should have a better squad than a lot of the other teams in the Frauen Bundesliga. So I'm kind of hoping that even though she's a little bit older, maybe not as physical, that she can hold down these spots. She can also rotate in on the left because I'm not convinced we're going to keep Biri Unstein. And shout out to Maz Vals 1978 for the very helpful comment. The other thing I like about Caroline is she could play in that number 8 type role in a formation as well, but she can't play the DM. So in the 4-2-3-1 now, you're playing with 2 DMs. I guess it was that way on FM24. You're playing with 2 DMs rather than 2 midfielders. So I see her more as the number 10 and then covering for the left and the right. Although I think some of the younger players we've got that are coming up through the ranks on the wings are pretty good. I will say I have found TransferRoom Out to be somewhat useful. I believe that's how we sold one of our center backs, the one for 155 grand, is I created some requirements and I sent them out to, I think it was Racing Club Louisville and then another club, and that's where Utah Royals came in. It's almost like in FM24 where you would go to offer a player out and you can pick specific clubs, except it's telling you what specific clubs might come back with offers. So I don't know if that means behind the scenes in FM24, if you just transfer offer, send out to everybody, if it actually went to everybody, does this make it more likely you get a response because you're sending them a specific note or email with the player's file or something like that? I'm not sure about the difference, but I found it somewhat useful. Likewise, TransferRoom In has been okay. As you can see here, I have put that we've now sold so many center backs that I'm looking for kind of a younger center back that wants to be a squad player. I know younger, 32, but some of the women's players are a little bit older. And I'm also looking for I should have put squad because now we've signed one. A squad player at striker. Kind of, we have a drop off now between currently Alexander Pop, but future Bunny Shaw, and then the next player, who right now is Linnea Saline, and she's fine. She's got good potential ability, but she's 19. So I need that squad player. Let's actually go adjust that live so you see what it's like. So if I didn't already have one of these, I would just go to create requirements, but I'm just gonna click this and click change requirements, and I'm gonna drop this down to squad player. So I'm looking for a club that's got a player that doesn't mind rotating in, but doesn't expect full game time. Let's drop the age down a little bit. Let's say I wanna be 18 to 29. I do wish I could say, give me a current star ability like you would with your recruitment focuses. But I guess the other clubs wouldn't know what you consider a 3-star versus what they consider a 3-star. But then you just click submit requirements, and now it's adjusted. And eventually, as you can see, this is one that was already sent to us, but RB Leipzig have a player, Giovanna Hoffman, who actually looks all right. She actually looks like more of a squad player to me. I'm gonna keep her in mind, but we'll see if anybody else comes in. So I did have several people ask on one of the non-Wolfsburg videos about, well, hey, how are things going? Like, are you gonna keep doing the save? I am finding FM26 to be kind of wonky, and so it's a little bit harder to like make progress, but that's why I want to do this episode today on the transfer window. As you can see here, we find ourselves in 2nd place. We dropped down to like 5th at one point, but it was pretty tight. We played several games. We're at 34 points, so we're 6 points off Bayern Munich. I'm not entirely convinced we're going to catch them, but our form has improved. As you can see here, since essentially the October break, we've drawn 3 games and won every single one of them. Some of them quite convincingly. Now, these are friendlies, Ado Den Haag, Köln, and Borussia Dortmund. That was more after the December-January break, getting our match fitness back up. I have had an alarmingly large number of games, at least it feels that way, where it's been raining. In fact, somebody in my Discord, which you should join, the link is in the description, looked up the weather in Wolfsburg and said, well, in January it rains 33% of the time. It's just like, yeah, but I'm playing friendlies every Saturday. You're telling me it rains every Saturday? I'm not sure. I've seen a couple of bugs on the bug forum about rain. Maybe they're just trying to show off that part of the match engine. I'm not sure. We are also still in the Women's Champions League. This is supposed to be the tree. I don't know what's happening here. It's the knockout playoff round. We're not in that. I guess that's because we finished. Why can't I see can I see the table? League phase. We finished second, which is kind of unbelievable. Even on points with Barcelona, I think they nicked us because of the +2 goal difference, which we'll take that. So I guess this means that we have just straight up qualified for the next round. So currently 5th through 12th are playing in the playoff round, but that tree I think needs work. The tree system in FM24 was not broken. This is, I guess it means like, instead of just having it like these 4 start here, they just squish them up, but that doesn't look like a tree now, does it? We also beat Werder Bremen 2-0 on November 16th in the German Cup. What round? Not sure. Doesn't really show here. That's a gap, I think. And we're playing Bayern Munich in March in the next round of that. Again, what round is that? It doesn't show. I should have mentioned I played most of this on the Tuesday patch that they put out. I'm currently recording this on the Wednesday patch. The good news is on the Tuesday patch, these clocks were the wrong color. I had all sorts of clocks that were red, even though like they had contracts expiring in 2028. They're now fixed as of Wednesday. I have had some wonky things with match stats in game where on the screen where it shows like your formation and then the match stats and then the goals and then the other team's formation. I guess the formations are switched, but you get the idea. It's just been blank. It's been blank the entire time. When I got to the end screen, everything was blank, but completely restarting the game has solved that. So I guess, again, I know it's a beta. Save your comments on that part. So if you're running into those types of issues yourself, 1, I save pretty much before and after every game. And 2, if you run into those problems, try just restarting the game and see if that helps. So I'm going to keep playing on this. I'm going to get past the German Cup. I have no idea when the next round of the Women's Champions League happens after the playoff round. But once we get into the next actual round for us, that'll be probably the next thing that I show you. But if you're enjoying this and kind of exploring the transfers as we go, hit the like button and we'll see you next time. Before we get started with transfers today, I have to show you this set piece goal because it's chef's kiss. I can't do that. Oh, it broke again.